Hey guys, so today I'm really excited to bring you inside the mind of an ENFJ from an ENFJ myself. This was a viewer request. Somebody asked me, how does an ENFJ relate to their first two cognitive functions, extroverted feeling and introverted intuition? So for those of you that feel like that is Greek, I don't know what you're talking about. I actually made a little diagram. I'm going to try to break it down. And for those of you that know, just be patient with my other viewers because I don't want to just throw a bunch of words and information if it doesn't have any context. And I may end up doing a series about cognitive functions, the different types. As you know, my channel, I do a broad range of things. So if you came here for music or comedy or acting or inspiration or motivation, today I'm setting those things aside and I'm putting on my psychology hat because I really believe that if you know thyself and you know others, it's so much easier to move through the world, relate to other people, understand yourself, understand other people, understand where they're coming from, different perspectives, having empathy, and realizing we're all wired different and we're all essentially looking through reality or looking at reality through our own individual lenses, which are so much more than just psychology, but this is a good chunk because there's also childhood experiences, present, past, um, socioeconomic status, race, culture, all sorts of things, right? That influence how you see the world and how you perceive information. None of us are getting this right. All of us are figuring it out. So if you feel lost, confused, it's normal. It's so normal. You're a human, and we're all just trying to take in this reality that we have through what we have, the senses that we have, the ones we acknowledge, and the ones I think we don't necessarily acknowledge that maybe as humans evolve, we will begin to acknowledge that we have extra senses. And Capo has decided to go ahead and step on my diagram that I made. Capo's my cat. If you're new here, she'll make appearances from time to time. She likes to be my co-star. So I was trying to figure out as an introduction. So Myers-Briggs, I guess I'm like, where do I even begin? For those of you, most people know, oh goodness, Capo. Maybe I'll just hold it in my hand. Most people know Myers-Briggs, the 4 letters. Corporations have you do personality tests all the time. Oh, I gave myself a paper cut. Ow. Something so small can be so significant. Just a little thought. Yes, so I don't do these things scripted. Sometimes my mind goes other places, so just bear with me. I am teaching and I'm a teacher, and this is just how I teach best. Off the cuff, but having the information that's saturated, but now I have to synthesize it and figure out a way to give it to you best, and I do best without a script. So, and I'm also an improviser, so that really influences the way that I run my channel. So Myers-Briggs, most people know it's the 4 letters. You're an extrovert, you're an introvert, you're intuitive, you're sensing, you're a feeler, you're a thinker, you're a judger, you're a perceiver. And some people are like, oh, I forget what the judging, perceiving means, and what does intuition and sensing mean? So I will touch on that. But what some people don't know, but most of my viewers know, I'm sure, because that's why a lot of you are here, are that there are 8 cognitive functions. Swiss psychiatrist or psychologist, he may have been a psychiatrist, Carl Jung, way back, I want to say in the 1800s. He's not alive anymore. I wish he was. He's probably the one person I'd want to sit down and talk to. They always say, who would you have for dinner? And I always get tripped up because I think, gosh, there's so many amazing people that have been on this planet. But he's definitely up there because how he figured out the human mind the way he did is just amazing to me. And the fact that we're just sort of touching on what he discovered now and adding to it. So the cognitive functions, I actually got a definition from the internet, and then I'll tell you what I think they are. But it says the mental processes of gaining knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. So how you gain your knowledge, how you gain your understanding, how you move through the world is what I always say. I say your cognitive functions are how you prefer to move through the world. Do you ever notice your parents might view things differently than you do and see it and value something differently than you because they've got on different cognitive function glasses, among, like I said, many other facets of being a complex human being. So, we all have all 8, but you have 4 that are your main chunk that you primarily focus on, value. It's just how you're wired. I consider it the ego. And by ego, I'm not talking about like a narcissistic, although if you take it to an extreme and it's inflated, yes, tendencies. I'm talking about basically how you think about things, feel about things. It's just sort of your awareness, but there's an awareness beyond that awareness. Now we're getting a little deeper, but I like to call the personality types the ego because I think some people get tripped up and they say, oh, I don't want to be labeled. I get it. I don't like being labeled either. But I think it's important when you know yourself and how your ego wants to see the world and wants to move through the world, you're able to grow and change it, which is so powerful. You can tap into either your shadow, they call it your shadow side. I know it sounds dark and ominous of like, whoa, Rebecca's teaching us to go to the dark side. But I think it's important sometimes you have to tap into that for wholeness, for integration, as they call it, because if you're just using your strengths and you're not tapping into those things that maybe you're weaker on or don't use as often, are you really showing up in the world holistically as your best self? So I believe that it's good to be aware of your ego. It's good to be aware of your patterns, essentially is what the ego is, I think. So that if you want to change them or integrate other things, you're aware. And awareness, honestly, first step to, I feel like, anything, especially personal growth and development, which really is what this channel, I think the underlying current is really all about. I'm like, what's my theme? Well, it's self-improvement and self-development, even through the arts, laughter, different things. So that being said, I want to get into the ENFJ, which is my type. Some people are like, oh, I thought you were an introvert, Rebecca, because I do keep to myself. But just because you're an extrovert doesn't mean you're this outgoing, cookie crazy person. It just means you have your cognitive functions are stacked in a way that's what your ego, your personality type is. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to get into before I get into the ENFJ in general, but I'll go over these cognitive functions, as I'm going over my function stack, my shadow, what it all means. Yeah. So, and please, if you have any questions, I'm actually thinking about put them below. I'm thinking about doing a live because I'm getting close to 600 subscribers as a way of celebrating, and we could definitely deep dive into different personality types. I would love to do that. And I would love if you want to email me, RebeccaPebble@yahoo.com, and we figure out your type or talk about your type and how I can help you. I do offer personality typology services because I really think this is life-changing, because I notice as I read people, which is what my type does best, one of the things, I understand and I can give so much more grace to people because I go, okay, they are using these cognitive functions, so it makes sense they would behave this way. I'm not going to fault them for it. Just like I hope they give me grace for how I'm moving through the world. We're all doing our best, right? So I made this cute little, isn't this adorable, ENFJ chart. And breaking down the top 4 functions, and then of course the shadow, which for the ENFJ is actually an INFP, and I'll get into that whole thing because it's interesting now when I watch movies or anything where people have to have chemistry or romantic partners out in the wild, I'll type people in my head and I can see, sometimes it's just so clear, like, that's why these two were cast together. That's why these two have great chemistry. That's why These two were drawn to each other because certain types, based on your personality, it's almost inevitable in a lot of ways. You're gonna just be naturally drawn to people. So maybe if you're not familiar with your type and you learn your type and then you learn your shadow, you'll start to see it too. And the people around you, why they click, and some people don't click as well. But ENFJ, so my first function as an ENFJ, and what my viewer was asking about, they were asking about how I experience FE and NI. So FE is extroverted feeling, and I really hope this isn't flipped, because as I'm looking in my camera, it's flipped, but we're gonna hope and pray that it's not. And I drew little illustrations to help you understand it as well. Again, I'm a teacher by trade, one of the things I do, so this is my jam. Extroverted feeling, I drew a heart going outward because it really is an outward focused function about connecting with others, empathy, reading the room, being a chameleon. What do you need to be in different situations for different people, and easily adapting to that. So if you know somebody, and this is like almost a cheerleading, encouraging, that's on the one extreme, then you know you're like, okay, they probably are leading FE if they're like, woo, yes, go, you're amazing. Not necessarily. A lot of ENFPs kind of seem this way to me, funnily enough. But this is warmth. I was told one time by a friend, she said, if I could describe you in one word, it would be warm. And funnily enough, she's my shadow. She's an INFP, that she described me that way. But that's what I would say too. It's a heart, warmth, connection. And that's how we move through the world. Next, well, our primary way that we want to move through the world is connecting with people. So even out in public, I just want to connect with strangers. I want to say hi. I want to find out how people are doing. How's their day? Of course, there are times when I go into my shadow and I want to be left alone, just like any other human. I don't want to do this all the time. It's exhausting, especially if you're sensitive to energies like I am. You need to dip in sometimes and focus inward to recharge. So extremes in any of this, not good. It's like working out. You wouldn't want to just do your arms all the time and then have skinny legs, or maybe you do, but you want to be balanced. Balance is key in everything. And if you haven't noticed, the universe tries to strike a balance. It goes in one extreme and then we go the other. It's like it tries. So I've noticed it's good to find balance, because if not, well, God will probably do it for you. Next, we have introverted intuition, the next function for an ENFJ, which is essentially, I drew an arrow with dots connecting one right after the other in a linear succession. This is because introverted intuition, which is the top function for an INFJ and an INTJ. I hope I'm not forgetting. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. But those two for sure. It is essentially, you're able to, it's the future seeing. You can see where the patterns are going and you can predict, like, okay, this is where this is going. And you can zoom out and see the big picture. I remember doing a teacher workshop and they did this activity where they put these pieces, these pictures on the ground that are we were all supposed to work together and connect them. And I figured out I'm like, wow, I forgot my introverted intuition is second on my stack. Of course, I'm the one that was able, and I normally don't, I know they say ENFJs are leaders and take charge, but I normally don't. I usually step back and let other people do and kind of help here and there, but I was able to actually, I could see, I stepped back and I was like, oh my gosh, this goes here, that goes there. Introverted intuition. Although, fun fact, there's a system called Objective Personality. You can look on YouTube. It's run by Dave and Shan, a married couple in Oregon who I met years ago, because it's just a brilliant, brilliant system. They're trying to take this Myers-Briggs system, cognitive functions, and make it scientific. So they're studying people, they're studying personalities. And in their system, there are what are called jumpers. And I agree with this. I'm a jumper. I jump, I skip this. It's not as strong. And I go straight to here, extroverted sensing, which I'll talk about here in a second. So I'm FE, SE in their system because I think as a child, I don't know. I have two lead SE parents. That's what my thought. I'm like, how did I skip this? Because this is important. And I go straight to this. And all I can figure is maybe it is nurture. This was nature and this was nurture. But I don't know. All I know is my introverted intuition, although it served me well that one teacher workshop, usually is the pits. I can't tell you. I will think I have an idea of where my life's going, where the world is heading, where our country is heading, what's going on. And I'm usually wrong. I hate to say it, but so my introverted intuition, even though I have it, and I can see patterns, which is part of introverted intuition. I'm great at seeing patterns. And that's part of being an intuitive too, if you're an N-type. Pattern seeking. But I don't know. My SE is stronger. And your SE is extroverted sensing. And I put somebody, they're kind of like dancing or running. That is being present. That is being in the here and now. ESFPs, ESTPs have this as their lead, and they're like your athletes, they're professional athletes, dancers, people that are in their body and they're working with the five senses, concerned about like beauty, looks, how things are presented. That's important to me. I mean, today I'm not dolled up, but usually I am, and it's important. I value extroverted sensing where some people may not. So to answer my viewers' question, which thank you so much for bringing that up. How do I relate to FE and NI? I could write a novel. So FE for me is more, I'm constantly reading the room. I'm constantly reading people. I'm constantly trying to figure out if somebody has a need that I can help with. But I've gotten better because it's kind of meshes with codependency and some unhealthy things. Every function can be unhealthy. Because of course, right, everything's binary, everything's both and. You can't just have all good or all bad or all light or all dark. I mean, it's both. So I have to catch myself so I'm not overbearing or because if I wanted to, I could be like a motherly type all the time, but I don't. I have learned to give people space and to not try to take care of their needs for them all the time and let them have some independence. So for me, FE is bringing the warmth, the vibes. Like I know people talk about vibes, but it's so true. I can feel if I'm in a place that I don't feel comfortable, the vibes are off, I can't be there for long. I just can't. And so it's important my home is comfortable, my workplace is comfortable, where the places I go, the energy is good, and I try to bring good energy. Unless I'm in my shadow and I'm having a bad day, then I just try to either avoid being around people or I'm very quiet and to myself. So that's my FE. NI, for me, like I said, not super strong. I think because for me, it's a little different than most ENFJs probably because I'm a jumper. For me, it's like trying to figure out where things are going, almost to my detriment. I try to go, I've had a few friends tell me this. They're like, Rebecca, you skip straight to the end in relationships of everything. It's like I see how things are going to end, how they're going to play out. And sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. It's weird, but if I'm watching a movie or something, I'm trying to think, okay, where is this going? How's this going to end? So I'm always looking at the end. I don't know how other types, their introverted intuition is for them. I'd love to hear. So I already went over extroverted sensing. And then my last of the top 4, so the weakest, if this is a car, this is the driver, this is the passenger, and then we got like the kids in the back, and this is my little baby. This is like the toddler. This is the one that's least developed in the ENFJ and is sensitive. So I say sensitive. I mean, it can be like touchy if we feel like we're not smart enough, which is funny because ENFJs are wicked smart, but because we have introverted intuition here, whereas like an INTP would have it first, or an ISTP. So then we look up to them like, wow, you've got the thing that I'm working on. And they look at us and go, wow, you've got the thing I'm working on. Really develop. So there's usually attraction there too. So this is a light bulb. And it's going inward because introverted thinking is about your logic. It's very personal. And we don't really speak our thought processes out loud, usually too much, sometimes. But that's dipping more in extroverted thinking. So it's funny when I give my reasonings, because this is also your reasons. Sometimes people will combat them, and I'm like, I've thought about this so much more than you will ever know. Please don't fight me on this, because it's all in here. It's not like I have this, manifesto. It's all, my manifesto's in my head. I've thought it out. I have the logic. I have the reasons. But as an ENFJ, it's so much easier to just have the feelings and say, it's just because I feel that way. But a lot of people want your reasons, and that's where this little toddler function comes in, and it has to get beefed up in the ENFJ so that people will go, oh, okay, that's why she's doing the thing that she's doing, because she has these reasons. So that is, if you know an ENFJ, we're actually pretty rare, so you probably don't know many, if at all. It's hard to find us out in the wild. I mean, not hard. I shouldn't say it's hard, because we are out and about, obviously, in our communities, doing things, teaching, helping, volunteering, loving on people, talking to people in the grocery store, helping out how we can. That's your ENFJ. But where was I going with that? I just lost my train of thought. But that's like the main meat of the ENFJ. So now this is the tip of the iceberg that you see. This, our shadow side, which interestingly enough is the same, this is the top functions for an INFP. These are our very bottom, under the sea iceberg you can't see, that we still have, and it's still valuable to us, but we don't present it. This is like the mask that the ENFJ wears to the world, and this is like getting down into like, whoo, now we're going into the inner recesses of someone's heart and soul. So introverted feeling, or FI as it's known, I put a heart with the arrows going in. This is what you personally value. This is like what you would fight for. This is the things you love. This is, and the INFP and the, why am I blanking on lead FI users? I almost said ISFP, but is that right? ISFP? I was gonna say they have SE first, but no, I think ISFP, yes, also lead FI. That's why those types, when they love something, ooh, they love it, and they value it so much, it's like it probably will never change for them. I don't know. I'd love to hear from my ISFPs and INFPs. And again, there's usually some sort of synergy, attraction, not always, obviously. But there's usually like this weird, we're on the same page, I get you, you get me, because all our functions are inverse. It's like looking into a mirror where your features are flipped, but it's you. So that's the weird thing. Like if you find your type, and you realize your shadow is just changing the first and the last, I'm pretty sure, I hope I'm doing this right, oh my gosh, first and last letters. So if you're an E, it's an I, and if you're a J, it's a P, if you're a P, it's a J, and if you're an I, it's an E, and then these two, like your ST or your NT, all that. I need to do a whole series on all that stuff. But anyway, so it's interesting to figure out your shadow, meet people that are your shadow, and go, whoa. And I also notice a lot of times people find their shadow hilarious. Again, stereotype, not always true, but I find INFPs think I'm funny, and I think they're funny. And it's just almost like without exception. It's really bizarre. So I'm like, is that because they're tickling my shadow and I'm tickling their shadow? Probably. So the way I experience, and I don't know, did I talk about how I experience all this stuff? Yeah, I did. Okay, good. Introverted feeling for me is, it's interesting because I haven't given myself a lot of time to delve into my introverted feeling until fairly recently, because I, again, focused on this, everyone else and everyone else's need. And then the ENFJ, your hero's journey, eventually becomes, okay, I want to be selfish for a little bit, and I want to figure out what I want and what I need, and I'm going to focus on that. Which some people might go, whoa, what's happened? But it's the ENFJ is trying to become whole, because if we just put all our eggs in this basket, guess who's never going to get their goals and their dreams realized? This ENFJ, because they were too selfless, which is never a good thing. Balance, again. So for me, finding out what I love, it's almost maybe more extreme than people that are lead FI, because for me now, I fought so hard to find those things and hold on to those things. I would almost like, dare say, kill for those things or hold them in my cold, dead hands. There's certain things I'm like, you would have to pry this out of my cold, dead hands. It's in my FI. I value it too much. So, and you can tell when an ENFJ really likes something. They'll get sometimes defensive if people are bad mouthing whatever it is. You know, they might say, "Oh, that's stupid or silly," but if it's in your FI, watch out, because you've already done the TI work to figure out, why do I like this so much? Why is this interesting to me? So you could write a whole book, a whole novel about things that are in your introverted feeling. At least for me, if it's in my introverted feeling, it's solid, and I will wax poetic about whatever that thing or person is, because it's almost like it becomes an obsession, maybe because it's in my shadow. Next, we have extroverted intuition, which I drew a bunch of arrows going all over the place. So just like introverted intuition was a straight line, now this is the opposite. Introverted intuition is essentially, this is a fun function for lead function for ENFPs, ENTPs. It's the idea generation. It's the brainstorm guru. It's the person that just has these wild abstract connections. A lot of comedians have great extroverted intuition, or sketch writers are hilarious because they're connecting two totally or more unrelated ideas and making it make sense. So it's a fun function. I don't get to use it as much as I would like. I noticed it beefed up when I started taking improv classes starting in 2016, and then performing in improv since then. That's when I get to use that muscle, and it's so fun because I'm tapping into my shadow, and it takes a little more work than somebody that maybe it naturally comes for. They might be, oh yeah, that reminds me of this thing and that thing, and I'm just like, I have to, for me, it takes a little more work, but it's so rewarding and it's so fun to be silly. I think of things like cartoons, a lot of them, like a Family Guy type of Rick and Morty. I don't know, just very, like, maybe not Rick and Morty, maybe more so like a Family Guy, just random stuff, or SNL sketches, right? I think of that. Next is introverted sensing, and I just put a very content little person here. They're just in there, they're just feeling comfortable. So that is the function that's concerned with comfort, tradition, things just how they've always been. It's just, it's a stabilizing force. So it's important because if you're an extroverted sensing person, you're not very sentimental for the most part, or you're moving. You're like, okay, let's keep going. We're in the present. We're moving to the future. Let's go. Because these two functions are actually connected, the future one with the present one, interestingly enough. So when introverted sensing comes along, it's like, oh, don't weigh me down, man. Don't want the traditions, don't want to be told that's how it's always been done and we're just doing it that way. But that's what introverted sensing is here to do. It's to ground us, those of us that are head in the clouds. So it has its value. But as an ENFJ, I don't value it that much, because now we're getting really into the bottom of the basement. These are the functions that I'm like, oh, they're harder for me to grasp and use, and I get frustrated easily. So very last one, extroverted thinking. I put a light bulb actually going outward instead of inward like introverted thinking. This is the systems building. This is somebody that's probably good at Excel spreadsheets. This is what works well for everybody. This is your ESTJ type that's just, or your ENTJ commander. These are your bosses, your CEOs that just know how to make it all work. Well, for me as an ENFJ, not so much. So when we do group projects and there's the logistics piece, or somebody's telling me to put together a bunch of things like almost like Tetris or blocks, my brain goes, nope, not my strong suit. I can give you warm fuzzies. I can encourage you all day long. And for me, I can make an interesting experience for you. I can give you all that's why I think my YouTube channel is just like an experience, because for an ENFJ, it's all about I want to provide you the most entertaining, interesting experience. If I had the money, I'd have costumes, I'd have lighting, it'd be a whole production in here, a one-woman show, because I love the theatrics of it. That's my SE. And but yeah, so don't ask me to do spreadsheet stuff or to organize some kind of corporation or something. If I was a CEO, I'm going to be that like heartfelt, how are my employees feeling? How are they doing? Am I giving them a livable wage? I'm going to be thinking about the human component, less in my head, more in my heart. But that is how the ENFJ is made. There it is again. Very just general overview. Could go on forever. If you guys like this, I could do a series for each type, although it's easier for me to talk about my type because it's a personal experience. I may just go for the functions. I don't know, but I think I want to help people understand themselves and understand others. I'd love to hear your thoughts on either these functions, different types, whatever, your experience with ENFJs or any questions you may have. This is one of my longer videos, but I feel like I gave you a lot of really juicy information that you can use for yourself and others. And this is just really important to me. I'm realizing the more I move through the world and I just use this system to read people and understand people, and how it's been eerily accurate, really eerily accurate, that I want to share this information with others because maybe it will help you as well, as we move forward. And we really need to come together, love each other, and give each other so much compassion and so much grace, because we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. So I want that grace as well, and I think we should extend it to other people. So know thyself, love others, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.